Welcome to the Underground. Today is Monday, December 8th already, and this is the fourth installment of Ancient Kemet and Other African Contributions to Astrology. If you're new here, welcome to EarthtoneS. I am your hostess, Kat Moon. Please consider subscribing to the channel, hit that like button, and share the video. We're going through an initiation of sorts as a collective, and it is my opinion that we're going through a transformation. We're learning about the path of the sun through the underworld in the winter 2025. Now, the promise has been to keep it short, and that has been the challenge. So go ahead and get your beverages, your tea. I'm drinking tea, coffee. It's kind of late in the evening, or even your spirit water. It's after 5. Go for it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. And while I am sharing my screen, I want to just remind you where we were in the last installment, which was the Beheti. And I said it rather quickly last time, and sounded like something else. But Heru Behutet is the ascending sun disk, where the scarab beetle that was at Kepara, the rising sun, has reached its ascension and is at 12 noon. This is the 10th house in astrology. So it has reached its highest height in the cosmos, or in its ascension and enlightenment. And of course, the hooded cobra flanking it uh, offers the infinite life force energy called Sekhem, Sekham. And we also mentioned that the wings were indicative of the idea of the angel, the seraphim, and the cherubim. Now, you got to remember, this was before the days of religion. And they started out in animism, where they honored the animal, they practiced their daily activities in rhythm with nature. But yet, there were these cosmic, and I'm losing my lighting here, there were these cosmic forces that kept causing these catastrophic events. And I kept running into them every couple of 100 years. And last time that we spoke, we were around the year of 2347, which is the suspected year of the Great Flood. But prior to that, we have to acknowledge that in the millennium of 3000, there were these thriving civilizations that just keep coming up in number. Right now, the Gunung Padang civilization is being excavated in Indonesia, and they've closed it off to the public. Graham Hancock was interested in it, or is interested in it, as well as Gobekli Tepe. And in addition, there were other civilizations that were thriving at that particular time as well, such as the Great Zimbabwe, and you had the Shona people thriving. You had the Olmecs thriving in the Americas, as well as the Hopi. And if that was the case, you had the Mound people thriving as well. Now, I don't know exactly when they were in existence, but at the Cosmic Summit that took place in North Carolina this past summer, the Shocks were there. And Katie Shock, wife of Robert Shock, geologist, who dated the what we know as the Sphinx, but Perkim, if it no, Perhet Akim, if I can say it right, and I don't even know if that's right, but they have been following the research of this fellow named Klaus, and they have been finding some of the common evidence that have been found by Brother Tony Browder in his excavations, as well as Graham Hancock and Ashwa Kwesi in his tours mentions the same thing. And that is that they keep seeing this intentional protection or covering with mud brick of these ancient megaliths in ancient Egypt, Göbekli Tepe. You also have the same thing showing up in Gunung Padang, as if they were protecting and burying these monoliths in anticipation for these catastrophic events. Now, Katie mentions that there is growing evidence of this earlier cycle of civilization. And so around this time period, her husband hypothesized that the sun exploded. And so we are having these impacts from above. And Randall Carlson just uploaded a video that shows evidence of an impact crater in China. So China was also participating in trade on the Indian Ocean, but they also had land trade with the Africans and other people along the Silk Road. And that's where they started to interact in later years, and of course, the first millennia with the Europeans and the uh, and the people of Europe, Asia, and of course the people of Africa. So, as Robert Schoch is hypothesizing, this sun exploding in this millennia 3000, this obviously generated, and it may be the explosion that took place in around 2000, because it's happening every 200 years. This generated an instantaneous end to the Ice Age and possibly Atlantis. And so we have to start with the Zeptepi after that. But according to the pyramid texts that were translated 2348 to 2200 BCE, which is when the suspected occurrence happened, which would have been around the time of this great flood, in the Old Kingdom, the pyramid Unas has etchings of cascading cylindrical shapes all over the walls and evidence of electricity. And so, you have these reoccurring events, but this obviously generates the need to navigate the land, navigate the waters, and it may have been the inspiration for the first astrolabe. This one here is associated and shows the carvings of the impact that affected the Sumerians or the Akkadian Empire in Mesopotamia, called the Kaful impact. Now, many amulets were found in excavations that pointed to prayers and protection rituals. And the one in the lower left-hand corner was translated using the Dead Sea Scrolls beside it. And it is indicating that this is a prayer of Amun Ra rising from the waters of noon on the Benben stone. And the Benben stone would normally go in the center of this decanga of the Congo cosmogram. And that Benben stone would go, and I've seen it, but I couldn't find it on the internet, would go in the center with Amun Ra rising out of the center there. And so you see the similarities between the Congo cosmogram and the ancient Kemetic cosmogram, showing proof that these cultures came together even before ancient Kemet was established around 3100 BC. Now, we already know that the Dogon wisdom was ancient wisdom because of their isolation from modern society. But there in the bottom lower left-hand corner there, you see Amma. Now, on the pale fox, we see a picture of the Nomo. I like to call it Amma because it shows both sexes. But Amma is actually the cosmic egg. And when the cosmic egg separates, there within are twins. And so even back then, the signification of Gemini is being shown in the manifestation of the twins. And this is recognized in later cultures, such as the Kemetan culture, which is younger, of course, than the culture in the Congo, the Shona people, the Zulu people, the Bantu people. And so up in your upper right-hand corner, you also see where the Dogon describes the act of perception, which transforms a wave into a particle, and the seven or the first seven vibrational, I don't know if you would call it waves, but the first seven vibrations of the cosmic egg. And the Bantu people recognize the cosmic egg as having or containing a man. And of course, that also being in the center there. But also in these cosmograms, there's acknowledgement of the solstices as well as the equinoxes and the spiritual realm and the physical realm and the separation thereof. So we're already starting to divide the circle of life, although it's already been acknowledged that they were associating the 12 segments of the fruit with the tree of life and the principles of life being contained within those segments. And so in my earlier video, I acknowledged Baba Kaba Kamene when he explains the that necessity is the mother of invention and how it was used by the first women in calculating their menstrual cycle. And here's evidence of that in the Ishango bone, which he also mentions in his books or in his book, Spirituality Before Religion. And so the Ishango bone is approximately 25,000 years old. And of course, it has these etchings of mathematical counting. And of course, they're in increments that is possibly indicative of lunar cycles. But the Labamba bone above it is even older at 43,000 to 42,000 years old. And it is it definitely contains lunar cycles in addition to the mathematical counting etchings. And so the feminine, divine feminine, was revered back in this time because she was recognized as the continuity of life, and she continued life. And so above the word Ma'at is the cosmic egg. I don't know if that is Mali, but it is displayed somewhere in Northern Africa with the explanation of the cosmic egg decorated on it. But the word Ma'at is significant in that ancient Kemetans did not use vowels. Why? Because vowels are sacred. Vowels were sacred at that time. And so the main foundation of the culture was Ma'at, order, balance, justice, harmony, truth, reciprocity, and even propriety, fairness, and commerce, because they were trading by now. So this was not a new civilization of people that were hunters and gatherers and evolving, because even before the first dynasty, these people were already established masters in their trades. They were priests. They were already knowledgeable. And so to establish order, especially with this reoccurrence, not saying that they were not finding themselves in the summer nights, chilling out in the desert, acknowledging the stars and learning the stars. It was a necessity to navigate the desert as well as the oceans. And so the priests, as well as the Neset Biti, who the Greeks called the Pharaoh, followed the order of Ma'at because they recognized that this integrity created a sense of balance and fulfillment in life. And it was exemplified and practiced and encouraged among the people as well. And so the vibration that went along with the use of the language also was utilized and included in their building, included in their material, the etchings on the wall. Everything was purposeful. Everything followed the foundation of Ma'at. And so in the language, they use words that created spells, created intention, and that's what spells are. That's why we spell words. And so Ma'at, the first manifestation of matter, is also material. And if everything is an emanation of the one, it also was equivalent to the architecture and the temples that they measured and included the measurements of fractions as well, and understood the importance of proportion. And so also in the language, Ma'at was used in words such as Ma-Re. And so we have Ma and Re, meaning the sun. Re and Ra are both in recognition of the sun. So out of Ma-Re, we get Marie and Mary, the mother of the sun in the Abrahamic religions that was a part of the mythology of Immaculate Conception. And we also get the word ma son, mother and son, where we get the term Mason, the builders, and Freemasons. And there's a whole story behind that, but ancient Kemet is where the origins of Masonry are. The word manna, as in the fruit from heaven, manna from heaven. But if we remove one of those ends, we have the life force recognized by the Polynesians, mana. Maya is the mother goddess in India, or one of the divine feminines in India and some of the East Asian cultures. And I also added Ra to illustrate my point in the vibrations, in that AU is the abbreviation for gold, Ra for the sun, and you put them together, you're talking about the golden ray, the golden light, and this is our light body, our aura, our golden ray. And so as we transit the underworld, we have to recognize where the Valley of the Kings is, which is at sunset. And so if you recall in the second installment, the Valley of the Kings is where the Neset Bidi are buried. And so this is the resurrection of Aset. And remember, Aset is partners or is the partner of Ra, as we saw in the first installment in the Temple of Denderu. Now, in her resurrection, we know that she's being resurrected as per her wings being in elevation and the sun disk above her head. And so she's preparing for resurrection. And we know it's Aset because she has the throne on her head. She is the personification of the throne. So she offers authority for those who are sitting on the throne or those who are ordained to the throne. And flanking her, we have Het Haru, that's his Hathor, and Nephet, who is Nephthys, her sister. And so Het Haru is the house of Heru. Nephet is the lady of the house. And Nephet, she protects Lower Kemet, and we know that she is the lady that protects Lower Kemet because she has the vulture inner crown. And she is in partnership with Wajet, which is the cobra who protects Upper Kemet. Now, in the Greek mythology, Nephthys or Nebet, as the sister of Aset and Isis, is jealous of her. She sleeps with her husband out of spite, and she gives birth to Anubis. Of course, Anubis, being Ampu, protects the underworld, and he works alongside with Thoth to weigh the heart and the feather of Ma'at. However, spiritually, you have to take this further in that although there is a separation of the spectrum of Nebet and Aset, in that Aset is lifted up as the highest expression, we all have a shadow side. And this is why we're going through the underworld, to embrace and acknowledge our shadow side, as opposed to shutting it out and pretending that it's not there, because all that does is amplify the characteristics of our shadow, or the cause of our the cause of whatever issues we may face or that we've had to work through. We all have them. But Nephet, as the lady of the house, creates structure, and that's why she's carrying the temple on her head. She protects the threshold of the gates. She has a temple on her head along with the basket. Okay, and if you notice, she is a little darker and a little translucent. Her gown, you can tell, is more translucent than her sister, and they were partners. And although those opposite ends of the spectrum may apply, because she was barren, whereas her sister represents fertility, she represents being barren. Her husband, Setek, who we know as Set, also rules the underworld. And so he is the shadow manifestation of his brother Asar, who in the underworld is Wasir, W-Seer. And so there we have W-Seer here being prepared for resurrection. He's already been anointed with the oils and incense and frankincense and myrrh. And so there's Nebutet and Aset back there giving him the life force energy that he needs for his resurrection. And the iconology in here is plentiful, in that he's always protected by Wajet, who is sometimes recognized by the blue lotus flower as opposed to the hooded cobra. And overhead, you have Nebutet, the partner of Wajet, in the form of the vulture, carrying the feather of Ma'at. And so even the throne where he sits, the dais where he sits, contains these 7 levels. If you count them, it's 7. Everything is about the 7. And of course, we touched on that and we'll get back to it as well. But there, Neptet is with her husband, Setek, and they are in the underworld doing the judgment of Brother Ani, I'm pretty sure. And beside that relief, you have the raising of the Jed, in that you have the Jed pillar, uh, which has the Ankh on top and the sun. And so this is the resurrection of the sun. And we know this because the raised hands is indicative of the Ka, which is the spirit body. So you have Neptet and Aset raising the Jed, and of course, future cultures were inspired by these reliefs. And so the Divine Mother is the representation of the continuity of life, fertilization, as recognized by the Ankh. The Ankh breathes life into the individual or into the soul. And these markings here, or the labels here, of course, is representative of the separation of spirit and matter, sunrise and sunset. You have the Kepa Ra, Ra, and Amun Ra. In other words, um, life, death, and rebirth, everything that's associated with the Trinity. And of course, with the beginning being or sunrise being the beginning of life, that is indicative of the Genesis, which in turn are the genes of Isis, the genes of the firstborn. The Ankh is also the house of life, the house of life. And so there we have the representation of the word house, per meaning house, as well as het meaning house. So we have per Ankh meaning the house of life. There's the Dogon's representation of Amma on the left, and the more modern representation of life as per the Ankh on the right. And Amma's egg is where we have Sapdet, the star Sirius, and all the other symbology that is representative of the cosmos as per the Dogon. A is Sirius, B Potolo, which is Sirius B, C Emaya, D is the Nomo. E is the Urugo or Uruguay, which is the mythical male destined to pursue his female twin. And then you have the Star of Women, which is E, a satellite of Emaya. The sign of women is G, and H is the woman's reproductive organs represented by the uterus. And so what you'll see is B being represented twice. And so that kind of supports my hypothesis that Sirius B supernova to create the Milky Way. Now, the representations of the tree of life is the placenta. The placenta, of course, with its veins and its connection to the mother, provides the nutrients to the child and maintains and sustains the child while it's in the amniotic fluid, the waters of noon, inside the mother's uterus. And so as this umbilical cord connects to the unborn, and when the baby is born, and I do advise men to participate in the birth process and cut the umbilical cord. It bonds you to the baby as well as the mother with whom you've already bonded, hopefully. But the umbilical cord is also equivalent to the silver cord that connects our astral body, that that leaves the body and travels throughout the night while we're sleeping. And so every night we actually uh, experience a mini death. I don't really like to use that word too tough, but a mini transition. And we come back and we're connected by the silver cord. But the tree of life nourishes us uh, by way of the placenta, just like the tree of knowledge nourishes our minds and helps us to grow, helps our minds to expand. And the tree's roots is similar in its growth, which produces the fruit that nourishes our bodies as well as it is nourished by the sun. Now, in the last video, I mentioned the surgical abilities and stumbled over, excuse me, how the instruments are displayed in the operating room the same today as they were or as they are on the walls of ancient Kemet. And many people are of the misconception that the Caesarean section was named because Julius Caesar was born by Caesarean. He was not born by Caesarean because his mother uh, lived alongside him for many years while he reigned. The word secere means to cut. And so the word cesarean comes out of the word secere or cesare. Cataracts is the same word that they use to describe the rocky entrances and the rocky waterways like you see in whitewater rafting that is a buttress to the cities of Aswan and six other cities along the Nile, like Sudan. But in the day, they also perform orthopedic surgeries, LASIK surgery, brain surgery, as well as plastic surgery. So this divine feminine energy was well respected. These two pieces of art flanking this one in the middle here. One is a book cover, and the other one is a card with a lot of iconology, as well as the iconology that includes the wise owl who has 279 degrees of vision, almost 360-degree vision. You have the Ouroboros there, that is the continuation of life, the life cycle. Both women are carrying the sistrum. The sistrum was a musical instrument that was used for rituals as well as entertainment. You have the indication of the four cardinal signs as well as the number five. The number five is the number that brings balance to the digits 1 through 9. Now, the center picture here, I'm not sure if it's a relief or a piece of art, but I believe it's a relief. And I know it's authentic because it has the watermark of Dr. Runoko Rashidi, who took us all around the world and showed us the indigenous people of every continent on the world, of which I'm very grateful and was very entertained by how he was able to go to these continents and get off of the tourist track and meet the real people, go back in the hood and meet the real people. But here we have the first representation of Aset and her son, Heru, and future representations in the form of the Black Madonna that is honored and revered throughout the world, where people go on pilgrimages, such as to Spain. And of course, the Black Madonna is in the Vatican. But as we know, ancient Kemet was a amalgamation of many cultures. And so is that the first? And Dr. Runoko Rashidi showed us that she is not, because we have here Venus of Willendorf, who is millennia older, and she is from circa 28,000 to 25,000 BCE. She's approximately 4 inches tall. She puts him in the mind, and he believes that she is a manifestation of the first peoples, who are the Ani, or the Ani or Anu people, who are also recognized as the Twa. And so here, this Venus of Willendorf has a story of being the mother of humanity. And as the mother of humanity, she is said to be the original cosmology, and founded of, or who founded the original cosmology and technology, from which the world's religions and sciences were developed. And her cosmology and science was called star science, ironically. And she is said to be the mother of all sciences. And this was a global acknowledgement. And so she is said to be the inspiration behind the monoliths, or the building of the monoliths, such as the Great Pyramid and Stonehenge. And so that's all we have for today, family. I'm going to end it there. Of course, it was quite a bit longer than anticipated. Hope you enjoyed it. By all means, remember to like the video, consider subscribing, and share the video. And we'll see you in the next one. Y'all take it light. All right. Peace.